"I forgive you," were her last words, but the letter she left behind told a very different story about forgiveness. The dust had settled on everything by the time Jack Harrow found her lying in the street. Sarah Mitchell's blue dress was torn and dirty, spread out like a broken flower against the hard-packed earth. Blood pooled beneath her head, dark as spilled ink in the afternoon sun. Her face was pale, but her eyes were still open, still searching. Jack dropped to his knees beside her, his hands shaking as they hovered over her body. He didn't know where to touch, where to help. There was so much blood. Too much. The sound of his own breathing filled his ears like thunder. "Sarah," he whispered. His voice cracked on her name. She turned her head toward him, slow as winter. A smile ghosted across her lips, soft and sad. "Jack!" The word came out like a sigh. He had done this. Not with his own hands, but with his choices. With his selfishness. With his need to prove he was faster, stronger, meaner than any man in 3 counties. The bank robbery had gone wrong. His gang had scattered like leaves in the wind when the shooting started. And Sarah, sweet Sarah who worked at the general store and sang hymns on Sunday mornings, had been caught in the crossfire. "I'm sorry," Jack said. The words felt small and useless. "God, Sarah, I'm so sorry." She lifted one hand, fingers trembling like bird wings. Jack caught it in both of his own. Her skin was cold, growing colder. Around them, the town was quiet. Too quiet. People were hiding behind doors and shutters, afraid to come out while the smoke still hung in the air. "Listen to me," Sarah whispered. Her eyes found his and held them. "Listen." Jack leaned closer. He could smell the copper scent of blood, the dust, and underneath it all, the faint smell of lavender soap that always seemed to follow her. "I know what you're thinking," she said. Each word came slow and careful, like she was counting them out. "I know what you'll carry, what you'll tell yourself in the dark hours. Sarah, don't talk. Save your strength." She shook her head, just barely. "No, you need to hear this." A cough shook her small frame. When it passed, there was blood on her lips. "You need to know." Jack felt tears burning his eyes. He hadn't cried since he was 10 years old, but here they came anyway, hot and shameful. "I never meant for this. You have to believe me. I never wanted anyone to get hurt." "I know." Her voice was getting softer, like she was speaking from farther and farther away. "I know your heart, Jack Harrow. I've always known it." That made him cry harder. Because it was true. Sarah had seen something in him that no one else could see. Something good, buried deep under all the anger and pride. She had smiled at him when he came into the store. She had said good morning like she meant it. She had never looked at him like he was dangerous, even when everyone else crossed the street to avoid him. "I used to watch you," she continued. "When you didn't know, I was looking. I saw how gentle you were with horses, how you helped Mrs. Patterson carry her groceries without being asked. I saw the man you could be." Jack squeezed her hand tighter. "Sarah, please. I forgive you." The words came out clear and strong, stronger than anything else she had said. "Do you hear me, Jack? I forgive you." The weight of those 3 words hit him like a physical blow. He bent forward, his forehead almost touching hers. "You shouldn't," he whispered. "You shouldn't forgive me. But I do." She was smiling again, that same soft smile. "I do forgive you." And then she was gone. Her hand went limp in his. Her eyes closed. The smile faded from her lips like morning mist. Jack stayed there for a long time, holding her hand, listening to the silence. The sun moved across the sky. Shadows grew longer. Eventually, people began to creep out of their hiding places. Someone touched his shoulder. Someone else said his name. But he couldn't move, couldn't think, could barely breathe. Those 3 words echoed in his mind like church bells. "I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you." They buried Sarah Mitchell 2 days later in the cemetery on the hill outside of town. Jack wasn't welcome at the service, but he watched from a distance, hidden among the scrub oak trees. The whole town came. She had been loved, really loved, and he had taken her from them. After the mourners left, Jack walked down to her grave. Someone had already placed a simple wooden cross at the head of it. "Sarah Mitchell," it read, "beloved daughter." The earth was still fresh, still dark with recent digging. He knelt beside the grave and pulled off his hat. "I don't know how to live with this," he said to the dirt. "I don't know how to live with what you gave me." The wind stirred the grass around the headstone. Somewhere in the distance, a meadow lark sang. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. It was beautiful, the kind of sunset Sarah would have stopped to watch. Jack was about to leave when he saw it. A piece of white paper, caught against the base of the wooden cross. It must have blown there during the burial. He reached for it, thinking it was just trash. But when he unfolded it, he saw his name written across the top in Sarah's careful handwriting. His hands began to shake again as he read the first line. "If you're reading this, Jack, then I'm gone, and you're probably thinking I died forgiving you." The paper crackled in the evening breeze. Jack's eyes moved down to the next line and the next. His face went white. His breathing stopped. Because what Sarah had written, what she had really thought, what she had really felt, it was nothing like the 3 words she had spoken with her dying breath. The letter trembled in his hands as the last light faded from the sky, and Jack Harrow realized that sometimes the kindest lies are the ones we tell when we're dying. 10 years. 10 long years of riding from town to town, never staying anywhere long enough for the dust to settle on his boots. 10 years of waking up in different beds, eating meals that tasted like sawdust, and carrying Sarah's letter in his shirt pocket like a stone against his heart. Jack had never read it. Not once in all those years. Every time he reached for it, every time his fingers found the worn paper, something stopped him. Fear, maybe, or the knowledge that some truths are too heavy to carry while you're still trying to walk. But now he was back in Millfield, the town where it all happened. The town where Sarah Mitchell had died in his arms, whispering forgiveness that maybe she hadn't really felt. The place had changed. New buildings stood where old ones had burned down. Fresh paint covered weathered wood. There was even a proper church now, with a white steeple that reached toward heaven like a prayer. But underneath all the newness, Jack could still see the bones of the old town, still feel the ghosts walking the streets. His horse picked her way down Main Street, hooves clicking against stone that hadn't been there 10 years ago. Jack kept his hat low, but he could feel eyes on him anyway, watching, wondering. Some folks had long memories in small towns. He stopped at the saloon first, not because he needed a drink, though God knew he did, but because saloons were where news traveled fastest, where a man could learn what had changed and what had stayed the same. The bartender was new. Young face, nervous hands. He looked at Jack like he was seeing a ghost, which maybe he was. "What can I get you, mister?" "Whiskey." "And some conversation, if you're selling it." The young man poured with shaking hands. The glass clinked against the bar top. "Don't get many strangers through here." "You passing through?" Jack lifted the glass, but didn't drink. The smell alone brought back memories he'd spent 10 years trying to forget. Maybe. Maybe not. Used to know this place long time ago. How long? The question came from behind him. Jack turned to find an old man sitting at a corner table, cards spread out like he'd been playing solitaire. His face was weathered as old leather, but his eyes were sharp as hawk's talons. 10 years, give or take. The old man nodded slow. "That had put you here around the time of the trouble. When Sarah Mitchell died." The sound of her name hit Jack like a physical blow. He set down his glass without drinking. "You knew her." Everybody knew Sarah. Sweet girl. Always had a kind word. Always willing to help. Shame what happened to her. The old man gathered up his cards with deliberate care. Bank robbery went wrong. Some outlaw got people killed. Jack's hand moved toward his pocket, toward the letter, before he caught himself. They ever catch him? The outlaw? Nope. Disappeared like smoke. Some folks say he got what was coming to him somewhere down the line. Others think he's still out there, carrying what he'd done like a curse. The old man stood up, joints creaking like old wood. "What do you think, stranger?" Jack met his eyes. There was something there, some flicker of recognition. But the old man just tipped his hat and walked out, leaving Jack alone with his untouched whiskey and the weight of 10 years' worth of running. He left the saloon and walked the streets like a man visiting his own funeral. Every corner held a memory. The general store where Sarah had worked, now run by someone else. The bank where it all went wrong, rebuilt with thicker walls and stronger locks. The spot in the street where she had died, now just ordinary dirt that showed no sign of the blood that had soaked into it. As he walked, more people noticed him. A woman hanging laundry stopped to stare. A group of men outside the blacksmith shop went quiet as he passed. Word was spreading. The stranger who looked familiar. The man who walked like he was carrying something heavy. Jack found himself at the cemetery without meaning to go there. His feet had carried him up the hill while his mind wandered through the past. The sun was getting low, painting everything gold and red. Sarah's grave was easy to find. Someone had replaced the simple wooden cross with a proper stone marker. Fresh flowers lay at its base, wildflowers picked from the meadow beyond town. He knelt beside the grave and pulled off his hat. The letter crinkled in his pocket as he moved. 10 years of being folded and unfolded by nervous fingers had worn it soft as cloth. "I came back," he said to the stone. "Don't rightly know why, but here I am." The wind stirred the flowers. Somewhere behind him, footsteps crunched on gravel. Jack didn't turn around. He'd been expecting this. Jack Harrow. The voice was older now, rougher, but he recognized it. Sheriff Tom Brennan. The same man who'd been wearing the badge 10 years ago. The same man who'd let him ride out of town instead of hunting him down like he should have. "Sheriff." Jack kept his eyes on the grave. "Thought that was you in town. You got some nerve coming back here." "Maybe I do." Brennan's footsteps came closer. The sheriff was breathing heavy from the climb up the hill. "You know I should arrest you. Should have done it 10 years ago. Why didn't you?" A long pause. "Then, Sarah asked me not to. Right before she died. Last thing she said to me was, 'Let him go, Tom. Let him go, and maybe he'll find his way to something better.'" Jack's hand closed around the letter in his pocket. The paper felt warm, like it was alive. "And did I? Find something better? Did you?" Jack finally turned around. Sheriff Brennan looked older, grayer, like the years had been hard on him too. His hand rested on his gun, but not like he meant to use it, more like old habit. "I don't know," Jack said honestly. "I've been running so long, I forgot what I was running toward. Maybe it's time to stop running. Maybe." Jack stood up, brushing dirt from his knees. "Maybe it's time to read what she really had to say." The sheriff's eyes dropped to Jack's pocket, where his hand still clutched the letter. Understanding passed between them like smoke. In the fading light of a day that felt heavy with endings and beginnings, Jack Harrow realized that some conversations with the dead can only happen when you're finally ready to hear what they've been trying to tell you. Jack sat alone in his hotel room, the letter spread on the small wooden table before him like evidence of crime. The oil lamp flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Outside, Millfield slept peacefully, but inside this room, 10 years of carefully built walls were about to come crashing down. His hand shook as he smoothed out the creases in Sarah's handwriting. The paper was yellow now, fragile from being carried so long. Her words were still clear, though, written in the careful script she'd learned at the schoolhouse. "Dear Jack," it began, and already his throat felt tight. "If you're reading this, then I'm gone, and you're probably thinking I died forgiving you. You're probably carrying those 3 words like they're some kind of gift I gave you with my last breath. Maybe they're helping you sleep at night. Maybe they're making the guilt easier to bear." Jack stopped reading. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in the silence. He reached for the whiskey bottle on the nightstand, but his hand froze halfway there. Whatever Sarah had to say, he owed it to her to hear it sober. "I need you to know the truth," the letter continued. "I need you to understand what those words really cost." The flame in the lamp guttered, and Jack adjusted the wick with trembling fingers. The light steadied, and he read on. "I don't forgive you, Jack. I can't. Not the way you think forgiveness works. What you did, what your choices led to, it's going to kill me. I'm dying because you wanted to prove you were the fastest gun in 3 counties. I'm dying because you couldn't let some stranger in a saloon call you yellow without starting a fight that turned into a robbery that turned into people getting shot in the street." Jack closed his eyes. When he opened them, the words were still there. "But here's what I need you to understand. I'm going to tell you I forgive you anyway. I'm going to say those words with my dying breath because I know you, Jack Harrow. I know that if I don't, you'll carry this guilt like a poison until it destroys whatever good is left in you." The room seemed to grow smaller around him. the walls pressed in like they were alive, like they were listening. Jack wiped his eyes with the back of his hand and kept reading. I've watched you for 2 years, ever since you started coming into the store. I've seen the man you could be hiding under all that anger and pride. I've seen you gentle horses that other men would have beaten. I've seen you help children find their lost dogs. I've seen you tip your hat to old ladies and pay for groceries for families that couldn't afford them, thinking nobody was watching. Jack remembered those moments. Small things. Nothing worth bragging about. Just being decent because it felt right. So, I'm going to lie to you, Sarah's letter continued. I'm going to give you the absolution you need to keep living, even though my heart is breaking with anger and fear and sadness. I'm going to say I forgive you because maybe, if you believe it, you'll use the rest of your life to become the man I saw hiding inside you. Jack pushed back from the table and walked to the window. Main Street was empty, moonlight painting everything silver and still. Somewhere out there, Sarah was buried under 6 feet of earth, and here he was, finally learning the price of the mercy she'd shown him. He returned to the table and picked up the letter with both hands, afraid it might crumble to dust. This is what forgiveness really costs, Jack. It's not about letting go of anger. I'm angry. I'm furious. I'm scared and I'm sad, and I wish things had been different. It's not about forgetting what happened. I'll remember every detail of this day for however long I have left. Forgiveness, real forgiveness, is about choosing to carry the pain so someone else doesn't have to. It's about taking the poison into yourself so it doesn't spread. Jack felt something breaking inside his chest. Not his heart, that had broken years ago. Something deeper. Some wall he'd built to keep the world at bay. I'm writing this letter because I need you to know that my forgiveness came with a cost. I'm paying it with my life, and I'm paying it with my anger, and I'm paying it with my tears. But I'm choosing to pay it because I have to believe, that you're worth it. That somewhere down the road, you'll prove that my dying words meant something. The letter went on, her handwriting getting shakier as if she was getting weaker while she wrote. I need you to live, Jack. Not just survive, but really live. I need you to be kind to people. I need you to help when you can. I need you to remember that choices have weight, and some mistakes can't be taken back, but that doesn't mean you stop trying to do better. Jack could barely see the words now through his tears, but he kept reading. I need you to know that when I look at you, I don't just see the man who made the choices that are killing me. I see the man who could choose differently next time. I see someone who could make my death mean something more than just another senseless tragedy in a hard world. The lamp flame danced, and shadows moved across the page like ghosts. So when I tell you I forgive you, Jack, remember what it cost. Remember that forgiveness isn't free. Someone always pays the price. This time it's me. But if you make something good from your life, if you become the man I believe you can be, then maybe that price was worth paying. The letter ended with a line that hit him like a physical blow. Don't waste the gift I'm giving you. It's the only one I have left to give. It was signed simply, Sarah. Jack sat in the flickering lamplight for a long time, holding the letter like it was made of precious metal. Outside, a church bell chimed midnight. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked once and then went quiet. Sarah had known. She had known exactly what her words would mean to him, what they would do for him, and she had chosen to give them anyway. Not because she felt them, but because she loved him enough to carry the burden of her anger alone. The letter had taken 10 years to read, but it would take the rest of his life to understand. Sarah Mitchell had died, saving his soul, and the weight of that sacrifice was heavier than any guilt he'd ever carried. Jack folded the letter carefully and put it back in his pocket, right over his heart. Tomorrow, he would have to decide what to do with the gift she'd bought with her life, and whether he was man enough to make her dying sacrifice mean something after all. Dawn came slowly to Millfield, painting the sky soft pink and gold above the mountains. Jack had not slept. He sat by the window watching the town wake up, Sarah's letter folded carefully in his hands. Her words had changed something inside him during the long night hours. Not healed it. Some wounds don't heal. But changed it into something he could carry without being crushed by the weight. He dressed slowly, like a man preparing for church or for a hanging. Outside, people were beginning their day. The baker lighting his ovens, the blacksmith stoking his forge, children running to school with books tucked under their arms. Life moving forward the way it always does, carrying yesterday's sorrows into today's hopes. Jack walked down to the lobby where the hotel owner was sweeping dust from the front steps. "Checking out?" the man asked without looking up. Jack paused, one foot already on the wooden sidewalk. "I'm not sure yet." "Well, when you figure it out, let me know." Got other folks wanting that room. The same folks who'd been staring at him yesterday were still staring today, but something had changed in their faces. Word traveled fast in small towns. Maybe Sheriff Brennan had talked. Maybe the old man from the saloon had spread his suspicions. Or maybe they just recognized the look of a man who'd spent the night wrestling with his demons. Jack made his way to the general store, the same store where Sarah had worked. A bell chimed when he opened the door, and a woman behind the counter looked up from her ledger. She was about Sarah's age, with kind eyes and work-worn hands. "Can I help you?" "Maybe." Jack removed his hat. "I knew Sarah Mitchell, the woman who used to work here." The woman's expression grew soft and sad. "Sarah was my cousin. I took over the store after she didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. I wanted to ask about her family. If there's anyone who might need help. Anyone she was caring for. There's her mother, Mrs. Mitchell. Lies out at the end of Elm Street in the little white house with the blue shutters. Sarah sent her money every month. Been hard on her since." Jack nodded. "Thank you." The woman studied his face. "You're him, aren't you? The one who was with her when she died." Jack met her eyes. "Yes, ma'am. She talked about you sometimes. Said you had a good heart under all that trouble." The woman's voice was careful, neither accusing nor forgiving. Said you just needed to find your way to it. Jack left the store with directions to Mrs. Mitchell's house and a strange feeling in his chest, like a door had opened somewhere inside him that had been locked for 10 years. The house was small and neat, with a garden full of vegetables and flowers. An old woman sat on the front porch, shelling peas into a wooden bowl. Her hair was white as fresh snow, and her hands moved with the practiced ease of someone who'd done this work 1,000 times. She looked up when Jack approached, and he saw Sarah in the shape of her eyes, the set of her mouth. "Mrs. Mitchell." "Yes. My name is Jack Harrow. I was with your daughter when she died." The old woman's hands went still. The bowl of peas sat forgotten in her lap. "I've been wondering when you'd come." Jack had prepared speeches, explanations, apologies. But standing here in front of Sarah's mother, all the words seemed too small. "I'm sorry," he said simply. Mrs. Mitchell studied him for a long moment. Then she patted the chair beside her. "Sit down, Mr. Harrow. We have things to talk about." Jack sat, feeling like a schoolboy called before the teacher. The porch was peaceful, looking out over the garden toward the mountains beyond town. "Sarah wrote me a letter, too," Mrs. Mitchell said quietly. "Different from yours, I expect, but she told me what she was going to do. Told me why. She shouldn't have had to carry that burden. No, she shouldn't have. But she chose to, and that was her right." The old woman resumed shelling peas, her fingers working steadily. "Question is, what are you going to do with what she gave you?" Jack pulled Sarah's letter from his pocket. The paper was soft from being folded and unfolded so many times. "I don't know if I'm strong enough to be what she thought I could be." "Strength isn't about being perfect, Mr. Harrow. It's about getting back up when you fall down. It's about doing the right thing even when it costs you something." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the old woman shelling peas and Jack watching the sun climb higher in the morning sky. "I've been sending money," Mrs. Mitchell said eventually. "Anonymous letters with cash inside. Been coming for 10 years, always postmarked from different towns. That was you, wasn't it?" Jack nodded. Sarah would have liked that. "But money isn't the only way to honor her memory." "What do you mean?" Mrs. Mitchell set down her bowl and looked at him directly. "This town needs a sheriff. Tom Brennan's getting old, wants to retire. Position's been open for months, but nobody wants it. Doesn't pay much, and it's dangerous work." Jack stared at her. "You're suggesting I'm suggesting you stop running. Sarah saw something in you worth dying for." Maybe it's time you started looking for it too. The idea was so unexpected, so impossible, that Jack almost laughed. Him, a sheriff? The same man who'd robbed banks and killed people? But as the thought settled, something about it felt right. Like a key turning in a lock he'd forgotten existed. The town would never accept me. The town needs someone who understands both sides of the law. Someone who knows what it feels like to be lost and what it takes to find your way back. Mrs. Mitchell picked up her bowl again. Besides, you've got something most lawmen don't have. What's that? A reason to be better than you used to be. Jack spent the rest of the day walking the streets of Millfield, seeing it with different eyes. Not as a place to escape from, but as a place that might become home. He talked to Sheriff Brennan, who surprised him by saying he'd been hoping Jack would come around to the idea. He talked to shopkeepers and farmers, listening to their concerns about cattle thieves and claim jumpers. As evening approached, he found himself back at the cemetery. Sarah's grave looked peaceful in the golden light, the wildflowers fresh and bright against the dark earth. Jack knelt beside the headstone and pulled out her letter one more time. He read it through again, slowly, letting each word sink in. Then he folded it carefully and put it back in his pocket. "I'm going to try," he said to the stone. "I can't promise I won't make mistakes. Can't promise I'll be the man you thought I could be right away. But I'm going to try." The wind stirred the grass around the grave. Somewhere in town, a church bell was ringing, calling people to evening service. Jack stood up and dusted off his knees. "Thank you," he said to the gathering dusk, "for the gift, for the chance, for believing in something I couldn't see myself." He walked down the hill toward town, toward the badge waiting for him at the sheriff's office, toward a future he'd never imagined possible. Behind him, Sarah's grave held its secrets in silence, but her voice seemed to whisper on the evening wind. Some debts can only be paid forward, and every sunrise is another chance to choose who you want to be.